Hello humans, Ratshit Batshit here, and today I'm going to give you something I've been formulating by all the studying I've done, all the notes I've taken, all the algorithms I've broken. I'm trying to get inside the mind of Konami, the man here, and I've formulated a list that I believe would be correct, like most of. It's weird and it's not practical looking, but I'm just based on how Konami hits things and how they represent like certain like Banlist and promotions of decks. I feel like this is much more accurate than it looks. So I'm going to go ahead and start off. This could be all wrong, but I feel that this is probably an accurate representation. Even if it's not right, it's an accurate representation of how they hit cards at least. So, we'll go over 3 bans. I believe there's going to be 3 bans, and that will be... Oh, actually, before that, let me state something. This ban list is going to happen near the end of February, I feel. If it doesn't, it's going to happen on a random occasion that none of us predicted. It's going to be one of those two, but I feel it's going to be later February. Alright, so for the bans, we got Level Eater. Well, it's a cool card and all. It actually leads to a lot of degenerate plays, and it's a card Konami can no longer really capitalize on, nor is it a card that promotes any form of interaction. The only answer you have to is DD Crow, and that's a very, very hard to justify hand trap to play right now. So, as of right now, I think that card's going to go. This one, I think, is going to be a preemptive ban, just so they don't have to worry about it. Similar how they did to Grand Soil, the plant FTK is so consistent, unlike other FTKs. Because even the Grand Soul FTK wasn't as consistent as this one. So because of that, I do believe they're probably going to have this one head for the hills. Because it's a card they can't even capitalize on. They could reprint it, but it's also for a deck no one really likes playing against. And you will hear a lot of complaints from this deck if you try to reprint it. So I think they're probably just going to ban it because there's nothing they could really do to... help themselves with this card, so I'm going to say they're going to ban it. And then finally, no other sets are going to support this deck, so I think they're going to just end it from the game, and the main way they're going to do that is they're going to ban Sleeper. You can do all the spiral combos you want, but it will no longer ever end with Sleeper. And I think, now, I was thinking this because they could limit another combo piece, but that doesn't hurt them anymore. So I think they'll just straight up end up banning the combo end rather than the combo in between. And I think that would be the most correct, and I think they know that's the most correct. And I don't see them keeping Spiral around because there's nothing that deck can do for them anymore. They had their time in the sun, and people... Well, I think it's a much more interesting deck now. Beforehand, people were disgusted by it, and I can agree with that. It was disgusting before its first hits. Now we go to the limits. Terraforming to 1. I think they're finally going to do it this list. If not, I wouldn't be shocked, but I think they will. Now, since this is taking place late February, Magicians are going to be a real thing, and I think they're going to start being a problem then. And because of that, I don't think they're going to eradicate them or destroy them. I think they're just going to do nifty consistency hits. And this will still make the deck playable, just less consistent. Because it's one thing to make a power board, but it's another thing to make a power board literally every single game, and it's the exact same thing. So I think this is a realistic hit for them. Fourth limit. So this one... I was thinking about it. Trickstars don't really need a hit, but I think they're just going to do it anyway, and they're not going to go for reincarnation, because that's just what Japan did, and for some reason, Konami doesn't like following. Like, if you've noticed these like past few months, they've not been following the OCG all the way. They always deviate a little on how their ban list is run. So I think this eliminates the burn aspect of the deck, but you still got the hand loop. I don't know. I feel like they're going to pull something that doesn't make sense, and I think it's going to be something like this. If not, I could also see them hitting the field spell itself, which hurts consistency, and it makes more sense than this. But I don't know. One of this just hinders the deck in a way it's not supposed to be hindered. This is not a problem of the deck, but they always get one. They always do one hit where you're just scratching your head, and I think it's this one. I think they're putting Dark Hole back to 2 because evenly matched is actually just better than Dark Hole. So I think they limited Dark Hole because of evenly matched. But then they realized, oh, this actually doesn't matter. People will just play matched over this. Here's a curveball I actually think they're going to do. We don't know when we're getting the Burning Abyss link, but when we do, I say they're going to put Tour Guide to 2. It's a card that only one deck can use when it's at 1, but once it's at 2, a lot more decks can use it. It helps Burning Abyss. They've been hit a long time, and they're finally showing their age. So they could get some support back. This is just a generic card that any deck can use. It brings out Songen, a card they were trying to promote a lot, but just won't happen. I think this is actually a really good card to bring back. It will promote the Burning Abyss link. It will promote more links in general. And, unlike Terratop, and even the Predaplant thing, this card is probably the weakest of those. And somehow it's at 1. Like, it's a normal summon, very fragile, and it only gets a Fiend. It's actually very, very weak. So I think that's actually going to come back to 2. And then finally, the Unlimits. 3, 3, 3, 3. None of these cards people care for anymore. I still think BLS is going to have a random format where it's an issue. Like I said a while ago, creeping 8,000 damage is not a thing. You still need life points to win. You just don't need that many. But if you pay that many and then BLS kills you, it's kind of just your fault. And I think we'll eventually get to formats where that happens again. Especially now with the new Isolde link where she can just search this. And she's a light herself, so... Luster to 3 will kind of fix a little bit of that consistency. Like, it will justify you playing this just so you can trigger your Astrograph and your... I want to say it's Star, the spell. I think that will be a thing, and I think they'll give it to them like that on purpose. And then finally, Mathematician, no one cares. It's had its time. This is my actual predictions for the ban list. I think logically, even though like one of those changes like this is very illogical, I think by all the patterns they hit things, I think this is going to be it, or something very similar, or something very off, but in the same pattern, if that makes sense. And then finally, I put in 5 cards that I actually think should be on the ban list. Gamma Seal, not because it's a kaiju, but because of its actual effect. There's a lot of link spam, Dark Link Row decks that are abusing this. Moral Chalice does it. I think if you don't hit it, it's going to become a problem, because if you manage to summon this, it could theoretically just be too many negates for any deck ever in the game to deal with. And I think because of that, it should just be banned. You still got plenty of kaijus, plenty of small kaijus too, but I think if you're just looking at Gamma Seal, I think it needs to go. Thunder King Ryo to 3, even in decks that should be playing it and would want to play it, they're not playing it, so I think it's had its time too. Dandelion to 2 to promote that BA link. I don't know if they'll do that because Japan immediately put it to 1 after, but who knows. Personally, I want more max Cs. And the reason I say that is when you're running more max Cs, you don't need to run as many of the same hand traps. And at the same time, you're actually kind of slowing the game down, because drawing max C is no longer a fluke. It is a real threat. It is a real threat to your opponent. And with all the other hand traps in conjunction with the game, I think max C going back to 2 or 3 would be much better for the game than it being at 1 or 0. That's my personal opinion. But I know a lot of people disagree with that, and especially with Link's, max C could be way more unfair. I get it. And I can even see that argument, and I would be totally okay if it was 1 or banned, but that's just my opinion. And finally, I think this card should go. I actually think this is ridiculous how you can make an XC that power creeped every single other XC in the game. It's not even its effect is too powerful, it's that it's actually too generic to summon. It doesn't say 2 level 4 non-pendulums or 2 level 4 normal summoned monsters, like logical to how powerful its effect is. It's actually just entirely generic, and I'm not okay with that. There are plenty of other stun XZs out there that would be better, would be healthier for the game, but this card's actually ignorant. It's extremely ignorant, and it promotes link spam, which people aren't a fan of right now, and to be fair, it's actually just too much. It's too much for any deck to deal with this outside of just having a board wipe, and because of that, I think this card should go. I don't think it should go yet, but I think it should go, like, if not this coming list, the next one, because this is ridiculous. That's just my opinion. I'm not trying to be salty about it, because I own quite a few, and I've used it plenty of times, but I'm just going to say, even right now, it's just too powerful of a card to have in the game. I think you overdid having 1 XZ left, and I think this is overdone. So, that's all I'm going to say. Thank you all for watching. Hopefully you kind of get what I mean by, like, this is the kind of pattern they're going to go for. And who knows, maybe like half, most, if not every single one of these is correct, or maybe just like 1 or 2 off. But who knows. Down here, just my personal picks of what they should be at. I think max C should move. I don't think it should be at 1. I think it at 1 is ridiculous. I'm a little more okay. Unlike other people, I don't agree with 3 or 0. I think 2 is also an okay number. Like, not the best, but I wouldn't gripe if it was at 2. Because at 2, it's not like it's just a sack draw, but it doesn't mean you're always going to have it. And that's how I feel about that. So, thank you all for watching. And remember, Master Dinnerflax will take your soul.